In this video, I'm going to show you how to enter student measurements for costumes. You can do this either through the costumes screen, the classes screen, or the student screen. Each has a slightly different purpose. If you're entering measurements for the whole school or for a portion of the school, you'll want to use the costumes screen because it allows you to move easily between classes. If you want to enter an individual class's measurements because you got that specific class on a day or because somebody had to make up measurements, you'll probably want to use the classes screen. And if you're entering measurements for an individual student, you'll probably want to use that student screen. But we'll talk about that as we get into each method for entering measurements. To enter measurements from the costume screen, select the Performances tab on the main menu, and then select Manage Costumes. Up here in the menu, select Enter Measurements, and you'll see a list of classes. The first class is selected by default, but you can simply click on any class row to select that class. This lets you move easily between your classes and make sure that all of your students' measurements get in. So if you're entering measurements for the whole school or for a large portion of the school, it is probably easiest for you to use this method. So select the class whose measurements you want to enter, and then scroll down to the bottom and you'll see the student measurements for the selected class. To enter or edit measurements for a student, you'll click in the field that you want to enter measurements for, enter that measurement, and then click the Update button. That'll update the student's measurements. If you want to enter measurements that are missing, like here, it's the same method. You simply double click in the field, enter that measurement, and click Update. And that will update. If you change a measurement, and then you don't click Update, and you move on to the next class, or to a different class, when you return to that class, or when you return to that student, you'll see that the student's measurement has not changed. So always make sure that you click the Update button to set those changes. If you enter something and you didn't mean to enter it, you can just leave that class without clicking the Update button, and that measurement won't update for you. Now, to enter measurements by class screen, you'll select the Classes tab on the main menu, and then you'll select an individual class. Scroll to the bottom and select Measurements. And since this is just that single class, if you have a single class that you didn't get measurements for, or whose measurements are coming in at a different time for some reason, you'll probably want to use this screen because it limits you to that, or it is that one specific class. So you'll enter measurements in the same way by double-clicking on the measurement field and entering or editing that measurement, and then clicking the Update button to update those measurements. Once you've entered and updated these measurements, you don't have to click Save or anything. They're automatically updated in the program, and you're ready to go. Now, you can also enter measurements from the Students screen, so you'll select the Students tab on the main menu. And you might want to use this if you have one individual student whose measurements are coming in at a different time for some reason, or one student whose measurements have changed. So select a student and scroll to the bottom of the student screen and select Costumes from this menu. At the top, you'll see their student measurements. This is a slightly different method because it's not in a list. So to enter these student measurements, you'll click Edit, and then simply click in the fields and enter the measurements here. And click Save Changes to save those changes. And you're done. So if you, at that point, go back to the Performances tab or the Classes tab Any changes that you've made on the other menus, on the other pages, will appear in these. So, as if you have Jane Brantley, whose measurements we just updated, here, they're updated in that screen automatically. So that is how to enter student measurements for costumes. Please let us know if you have any problems entering those measurements.